Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, your mind racing, heart pounding, and yet something inside you urges you to pray? That moment when the clock strikes between 3 to 5 a.m. can feel like the world is asleep, but that's when your spirit can awaken to something deeper. The quiet stillness that blankets the world is not just a time of darkness, it's a divine invitation. You might wonder, why does it feel different to pray during these hours? Could it be that this time is special, reserved for those who dare to seek something beyond the ordinary? The hours between 3 to 5 a.m. are often called the holy hours in many spiritual traditions. But what does that really mean? Is there any truth to the idea that the atmosphere during this time is uniquely charged, enabling us to connect more profoundly with the divine? In a world that never stops, where distractions pull us away from what truly matters, this sacred window gives us the rare opportunity to tune out everything else and focus purely on our relationship with God. There's a reason why these hours have held significance across cultures and centuries. It is not just coincidence, it's intentional. The power of praying between 3 to 5 a.m. is rooted in deep psychological and spiritual dynamics. This is the time when the human mind is most vulnerable to spiritual influence, when the physical world recedes into stillness, allowing the soul to reach out. Many of us struggle with prayer in the rush of our busy days, but when you pray in the early hours, you are no longer distracted by life's demands. Your heart is open, your mind is quiet, and the entire universe seems to pause for you to receive divine guidance. Isn't that profound? Doesn't that sound like a time where miracles could happen? When we talk about the power of prayer during these early hours, we're also speaking to the law of nature itself. Science has shown us that the brain undergoes significant changes during these moments of deep rest, when it is not yet fully active and engaged in the day's affairs. This altered state of consciousness is prime for deep spiritual work. Your thoughts are clearer, your emotions are more centered, and your body is more at ease. In this space, prayer becomes more than words. It becomes an intimate exchange between your soul and the divine. The body and spirit are intertwined at this hour, making it the perfect time to seek clarity, healing, and guidance. But why does this window, specifically between 3 to 5 a.m., feel so powerful? It's not just the stillness, but the fact that the world itself is in a state of rest. At night, nature aligns in a way that encourages deep reflection. There are fewer distractions, no noise from the world outside, and no hustle and bustle. This is the time when your spirit is most in tune with your Creator. When was the last time you paused and allowed your inner self to truly listen without external noise? We need to reclaim these hours, not as a time for mere slumber, but as a time to commune with the divine. Psychologically, our minds are shaped by patterns and rhythms. The early hours are part of a natural cycle of waking and resting. There's something uniquely profound about breaking from sleep to connect with God. We live in a world that values productivity and busyness, often forgetting that true power comes from stillness and surrender. The hours between 3 to 5 a.m. offer the antidote to this chaos, allowing us to reconnect to our truest selves. Have you ever experienced the peace that comes from a midnight prayer? That sense of calm that stays with you throughout the day, that feeling is not by accident. It's the result of aligning with the universe's most sacred moments. The power of prayer between 3 to 5 a.m. can also be seen as a kind of offering. In a world that demands so much of us, there is a quiet beauty in offering the first moments of your day or night in devotion. It is a sacrifice. But isn't that what prayer is meant to be? A true offering where we surrender our will and listen deeply to what we need to hear. These hours, when everything else is still, offer us the rare chance to present our hopes, struggles, and desires directly to the divine. Isn't it worth the sacrifice to give God the first moments of your day? Isn't it worth everything? What makes praying between 3 to 5 a.m. even more powerful is that it's not just a personal act, it has a collective significance. Historically, people have been drawn to pray during these hours not only for personal growth but for the well-being of their communities and the world. It's a time when prayer isn't limited to self-focused requests. It can expand to encompass the needs of the world. Have you ever thought of how your prayer during these hours might ripple out into the world? It's as if your devotion during this time unlocks divine intervention on a cosmic scale. When your soul aligns at this hour, you are in harmony with universal needs. This is also a time of spiritual awakening. It's no coincidence that some of the world's greatest spiritual leaders, saints, and sages have emphasized the importance of prayer at this time. Jesus himself is said to have spent time in the early hours praying deeply, as was the practice of many ascetics and mystics. They recognize that in these hours the spirit is most attuned to God. Praying during these sacred hours allows us to enter into a space of humility, where we can hear God's voice more clearly and feel His presence more tangibly. Have you ever felt that sense of awe when you know beyond a doubt that God is speaking to you? That experience is amplified at this hour. There's also a very real physiological benefit to waking up early to pray. We've all heard of the power of the morning hours in terms of productivity, but there is something deeply spiritual about using those hours not for personal gain but for selfless devotion. Studies have shown that people who pray, meditate, or engage in reflective spiritual practices report lower levels of stress and higher feelings of peace and fulfillment. When you wake up and choose to engage in prayer between 3 and 5 a.m., you start your day from a place of inner calm and connection, something that sets the tone for everything that follows. Isn't it time we prioritize the sacred over the mundane? Imagine for a moment that you're awake at 3:00 a.m. The world around you is still, and a deep, profound peace washes over you. It's almost as if the universe itself is holding its breath waiting for you to speak. You close your eyes, and with every breath you draw nearer to a higher purpose. This isn't just about prayer. It's about awakening to the divine presence that surrounds you. The stillness of the night amplifies the sense of connection, turning your prayer into a cosmic conversation. Have you ever experienced a prayer so real, so raw, that it feels as if the universe itself is listening to you? In this time, your mind is at its most receptive. The night has wrapped the world in its quiet embrace, and the distractions that consume our daily lives have faded. There is no noise to drown out your thoughts, no chatter to pull you away from the sacred moment of communion. It's just you, your heart, and the divine. In a world where every second of our lives seems to be filled with urgency, how beautiful is it to step away from that for just a moment? To center your thoughts and emotions in the calm of the early morning, where your spirit feels most attuned to God's voice. As the clock ticks toward the early morning hours, your soul enters a sacred rhythm. It's as if your heart beats in time with the universe, and every word you speak in prayer is echoed back with a powerful resonance. The power of praying between 3 to 5 a.m. lies in the simplicity of the moment. There is no need for grand gestures or elaborate rituals. Your authenticity, your heart's cry is all that matters in these holy hours. Isn't that what true prayer is about? Not about the words you say, but about the sincerity with which you say them. This sacred time also allows for deep self-reflection. How often do we truly take the time to look inward? Our daily routines are packed with responsibilities that pull us outward, away from our true selves. But in the quiet of these early hours, you have the space to reflect on your purpose, your life's direction, and your relationship with God. This is where healing begins. When you pray at this time, you allow your spirit to be renewed, to be transformed. Isn't it worth it to spend this precious time reflecting and seeking the clarity that can only be found in the stillness of the morning? Moreover, this time is deeply spiritual because it taps into something ancient and profound. Every culture throughout history has understood the power of early morning prayer. In many traditions, these hours are seen as a time when the veil between the physical world and the spiritual world is thinnest. It is during these hours that God or the divine is most receptive to our prayers. This isn't just folklore or superstition. It's rooted in the ancient belief that the first moments of the day hold the potential for deep spiritual revelations. So when you pray at 3 a.m., you're not just partaking in a ritual, you're aligning yourself with millennia of spiritual wisdom. The physiological effects of praying between 3 and 5 a.m. cannot be overlooked either. Research into sleep cycles suggests that between 3 to 5 a.m., many people experience the deepest levels of rest and relaxation, making it a time when the body and mind are primed for spiritual engagement. Your body is at its most peaceful state, which means your mind is clearer and your heart more open to divine guidance. Have you ever wondered why so many people feel an overwhelming sense of peace after spending time in prayer early in the morning? It's because their bodies are in the perfect state to receive the blessings that come from a close connection with the divine. Furthermore, this time can become a gateway for transformation. It's easy to fall into patterns of negativity or frustration as we navigate the challenges of our daily lives. But when you engage in prayer at 3 to 5 a.m., something shifts in you. Your perspective begins to change. You move from a place of anxiety to a place of deep peace. You realize that the power of prayer doesn't just change external circumstances, it changes you from the inside out. So when you pray during this time, you aren't merely asking for something, you are allowing God to mold you, to refine you, to transform your heart and soul. Consider also the power of intention. What we choose to focus on during prayer in these sacred hours can shape the energy of our day. This isn't just about asking for things, it's about setting the tone for the entire day. The intentionality behind prayer is what gives it its power. Have you ever woken up with a sense of purpose after spending time in prayer during the early hours? That sense of clarity doesn't come from the external world. It comes from aligning your intentions with divine will. When you pray between 3 to 5 a.m., you create a strong foundation for the day ahead rooted in spiritual strength and wisdom. This time also serves as a powerful form of protection. Praying in the early morning hours creates a spiritual shield that guards you against negativity, stress, and unforeseen challenges. There is something deeply powerful about starting the day with a prayer that anchors you to divine peace. Life can be unpredictable, and the pressures of the world can feel overwhelming. But when you start the day from a place of prayer and reflection, it changes the entire course of the day. You are shielded from the chaos, empowered to face any storm that comes your way. And let's not forget the importance of prayer for others during these early hours. When you pray between 3 to 5 a.m., you are not just praying for yourself. You are interceding for the world. You may not even realize the impact your prayers can have on those around you, but the ripple effect is real. Your prayers can bring peace to someone who is struggling, offer guidance to someone lost, or bring healing to someone in need. Isn't that a powerful thought? Your simple act of devotion, your prayer during these hours, can become a blessing to others, even across great distances. Finally, praying between 3 and 5 a.m. invites us to embrace a deeper level of faith. Faith is not just about asking, it's about believing that in these quiet hours something powerful is happening, something transformative, something sacred. Have you ever prayed in the early morning and felt the undeniable sense that something was shifting? That is the power of these hours. They invite us to step out of our doubts and into a space of trust. When we pray between 3 and 5 a.m., we're not just engaging in a spiritual act. We're surrendering to God's perfect timing, trusting that in those still moments the answers we seek are being revealed. Have you ever felt a deep longing in your heart for peace, for clarity, or for guidance, and wondered when the right time to seek it would be? The hours between 3 to 5 a.m. hold an unmistakable power for those who seek the presence of God. At this time the world is quiet, almost as if it is waiting for you to reach out, to connect with something beyond the physical realm. It's during these early hours that your prayers become more than words. They become a conversation between your spirit and the divine. Isn't it incredible to think that during these moments, your soul can be fully present with God, free from the chaos of the world? These sacred hours are not merely a time of silence, they are a time of reflection and insight. When you wake up in the stillness of the night, your heart opens to the divine presence in a way that daytime prayers often cannot replicate. This is not simply about setting aside time for God. It's about creating space within your soul for the presence of the Holy Spirit. It's in these moments of stillness that you can ask the questions that have been weighing on your heart, seeking answers that will shape your path forward. Imagine the possibilities when you commit to these hours of quiet communion. The act of waking up early to pray between 3 and 5 a.m. is a decision to prioritize your relationship with God above all else. It's a sacrifice, yes, but it's a sacrifice that brings profound rewards. This is a time when you can draw closer to God in ways that the busyness of the day simply doesn't allow. When you pray at this time, you are offering the first fruits of your day to God. This simple but powerful act demonstrates your devotion, your trust, and your faith. Have you ever thought about how meaningful it is to give the first moments of your day, those precious quiet moments, to God? There's something spiritually uplifting about praying when the world around you is still and silent. It's as if the very atmosphere is saturated with divine potential waiting for you to step into it. And it's not just about asking for things in prayer, it's about offering your entire being to God. The quiet during these early hours allows you to listen deeply. How many times during the day do we miss God's whispers, drowned out by the noise of life? But in the early hours, when everything is calm, you can truly hear. What would it feel like to know that the divine is speaking directly to you in the stillness of the night? One of the greatest benefits of praying between 3 to 5 a.m. is that it cultivates a habit of discipline and devotion. It's easy to get lost in the demands of daily life and forget to nurture our spiritual health. But when you commit to this time of prayer, you are committing to growth, to transformation, and to a deeper connection with God. This is not about perfection. It's about dedication. Even if you struggle to wake up at first, each moment you spend in prayer builds a stronger, more meaningful connection with the divine. Isn't that something worth pursuing? During these hours, your soul can find rest and renewal. In a world that pushes us to be constantly on the go, praying during the early hours is a powerful form of spiritual restoration. The stillness of the night allows you to surrender your burdens, worries, and anxieties to God. These are not just words, they are acts of surrender, acts of trust. When you hand over your concerns in prayer, you open yourself up to receive divine peace and guidance. Can you imagine how your life might change if you began every day with this sense of peace grounded in prayer and trust? The transformative power of praying between 3 to 5 a.m. also lies in its ability to bring you closer to the divine purpose for your life. So often we get distracted by the noise of the world and forget to seek out God's guidance in our decisions. But in the quiet of these sacred hours, God can speak to you more clearly. It's in these moments that you can receive direction for your life, clarity on your goals, and insights into your true calling. Do you long for direction in your life? Do you seek to know your true purpose? The quiet of the early morning may just hold the answers you've been searching for. Praying between 3 to 5 a.m. also allows you to enter into a space of deep gratitude. How many of us start our days in a rush, thinking only of the things we need to do and the challenges we face? But when you wake up early to pray, you are given the opportunity to pause, to reflect, and to express gratitude for all that you have. Gratitude is a powerful force that transforms the soul. It shifts your perspective from lack to abundance, from fear to faith. How often do you take the time to thank God for the small blessings in your life? These early morning prayers invite you to do just that. As you pray during these early hours, your spirit begins to align with the rhythms of the universe. There is a deep sense of connection that arises from aligning yourself with the sacred cycles of time. The hours between 3 to 5 a.m. are a time when the energy of the earth is in harmony with the divine frequencies of the universe. By praying at this time, you are aligning yourself with that flow of energy, allowing the divine to move freely in your life. Have you ever experienced a time when everything just seemed to fall into place? That is the power of aligning with God's timing, and these sacred hours provide the perfect opportunity to do so. There is an ancient wisdom that speaks to the importance of these hours in many spiritual traditions. From the early hours of the morning, there is a sense of divine order that governs the world. It is a time when the spirit is awake and alert, ready to receive wisdom and guidance. These hours are revered because they are seen as a moment when the divine presence is most accessible to us. This isn't just a random time. It's a chosen moment, a moment of divine opportunity. How could we ever take such a sacred opportunity for granted? Finally, praying between 3 to 5 a.m. helps you cultivate a deeper sense of spiritual discipline. It's not about how well you pray or the quality of your words. It's about the consistency and intentionality behind your actions. By setting aside this time each day, you are building a habit that strengthens your faith and trust in God. You are saying, "I will prioritize this time with God above everything else." And in doing so, you create a foundation of spiritual discipline that will carry you through even the most challenging moments of your life. What would it feel like to make this kind of commitment to your faith, to your relationship with the divine? There's an undeniable magic that happens when you pray between 3 to 5 a.m. A time when the universe itself seems to pause just for you. Have you ever felt like the weight of the world is too much to bear, like you're drowning in responsibilities? Then you wake up in the stillness of the night, and for the first time in a long time, you breathe deeply, completely free. There is something about these sacred hours that allows your soul to reset. You are no longer just a person navigating the world. You are a spiritual being connected to the divine in a profound and sacred way. Can you feel the difference? That's the power of prayer at this hour. It's often said that the early hours are the most productive of the day, but this productivity isn't just physical. It's deeply spiritual. When you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., you are choosing to prioritize your relationship with God, putting aside everything else to align with the divine will. How often do we feel like we're running on empty, chasing after fleeting things that don't truly fulfill us? But in the quiet of these early hours, God invites you to be filled, to be restored. This isn't about achieving, it's about receiving. Have you allowed yourself to receive that peace, that divine refilling? When we speak about the transformative power of prayer, we're talking about more than just the act of speaking to God. We're talking about transformation in the very fabric of your being. Praying between 3 to 5 a.m. allows you to surrender your will, to open your heart to a deeper understanding of your life's purpose. There is no distraction here, no noise, just the raw, honest connection between your soul and God. Isn't that what we all long for, authenticity? A space where we can truly be ourselves, unguarded as we stand before the divine. These early morning hours offer that sacred space. There's a profound psychological aspect to praying at these hours as well. Psychologically, waking up at such an early hour may seem like a challenge, but the reward is immeasurable. The brain, when rested, is more receptive to higher spiritual frequencies. When you're well rested, your thoughts are clearer, your mind sharper, and your connection to the divine deeper. This is why so many spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of praying in the early hours. It's a time when your mind is at its most open and attuned. When you pray during this time, you are engaging both the body and spirit in a way that amplifies your connection to God. Doesn't that sound like the most powerful prayer? Have you ever experienced a breakthrough during a quiet prayer session in the early morning? This time can serve as a crucible for breakthroughs in your life, spiritual, emotional, and even physical. It's when you pray at these hours that the impossible begins to feel possible. When you are in the quiet and the solitude, your deepest struggles are brought before God, and you allow space for answers to emerge. You are no longer alone with your burdens. God is right there with you, ready to provide comfort, wisdom, and healing. Isn't that the kind of presence we all need in our lives? The power of praying between 3 to 5 a.m. is also deeply rooted in the concept of alignment. As we live through our days, we are constantly bombarded with external pressures. Family, work, society, technology, and the noise of the world. These external forces create distractions that pull us away from our spiritual alignment. But during these hours, there are no distractions. It is just you and God aligning your heart, mind, and spirit. When you pray during this time, you synchronize yourself with a deeper sense of divine purpose, something that will carry you through the rest of your day with clarity and peace. How often do we seek alignment with the divine instead of the demands of the world? Praying between 3 to 5 a.m. also gives us an opportunity for spiritual self-care. We often forget that our spiritual health is just as important as our physical health. Just as we prioritize sleep, eating, and exercise, we need to prioritize our spiritual nourishment. When we choose to wake up early to pray, we are nourishing our souls. It's in these moments that we care for our spiritual well-being, filling ourselves up with the peace and strength that only God can provide. Just as our bodies need rest, our spirits need moments of deep connection and renewal. Can you feel how your soul comes alive during these sacred hours? In these early morning hours, we also find an extraordinary level of gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to start fresh. Gratitude for the opportunity to align with the divine. Gratitude for the beauty of the stillness and the peace that fills the air. Gratitude for the grace of being able to take these moments to be present with God. And gratitude for the wisdom that comes in these quiet hours. When was the last time you truly gave thanks? This time allows you to shift your focus from the chaos of life to the blessings you have in this very moment. Isn't that what prayer is all about? Bringing your heart into alignment with God's goodness? The power of early morning prayer also brings forth a sense of spiritual grounding. We are often tossed around by the currents of daily life, stress, anxiety, responsibilities, and pressures. But when you wake up at this sacred time and pray, you root yourself in something eternal. You are not bound by the limits of time and space. You are grounded in the divine presence that exists beyond this world. This grounding helps you face whatever challenges the day may bring with a sense of peace and resilience. Have you ever felt unshakable in your faith after spending time in prayer? That's the power of grounding yourself in God during these sacred hours. Another profound aspect of praying between 3 to 5 a.m. is the practice of devotion. We live in a world that values instant gratification and immediate results. But prayer, particularly at this hour, is an act of devotion that requires patience, faith, and trust. It's not about seeing immediate results. It's about showing up time and time again in dedication to your relationship with God. The act of consistently praying during these hours strengthens your spiritual muscles and deepens your faith. Isn't that the kind of faith that transforms lives? Finally, praying between 3 to 5 a.m. is a form of spiritual protection. It's as if you're setting a protective hedge around yourself, your family, and your life. The world can feel unpredictable, chaotic, and even dangerous at times, but when you pray in these hours, you are asking for divine protection. It's like setting a shield that guards you from harm and provides peace in the face of uncertainty. Isn't that what we all need? A sense of divine security in a world that can feel overwhelming. These early hours give you the opportunity to pray for that protection and assurance. When we talk about the spiritual practice of praying between 3 to 5 a.m., we're not simply discussing an act of devotion. We're speaking about a profound shift in the way we engage with the divine. During these sacred hours, prayer is not just an obligation or a ritual. It becomes a sacred dialogue between your soul and God. The stillness that surrounds you creates the perfect atmosphere for listening, for receiving, and for transformation. Have you ever wondered how the most profound moments in your life have occurred when you were completely still, open, and receptive? This is what those early morning hours offer, a space where transformation can unfold. It's during these sacred hours that the greatest moments of spiritual insight and growth occur. You may find that answers to your deepest questions come more clearly when you dedicate yourself to this practice. It's as if God is waiting for you in the stillness, ready to share His wisdom with you. Have you ever prayed for clarity, only to find that after dedicating time to quiet reflection, the answers come rushing in? These early hours open up a channel between you and the divine that is free from the distractions of the day. It's like finding a hidden treasure in the quiet, something you might have missed had you been caught up in the noise. Think of prayer as the foundation of your life. What is the foundation upon which you build your day? Is it stress, rush, or anxiety? Or is it peace, hope, and a sense of purpose? When you wake up at 3 a.m. to pray, you are setting the foundation for your entire day. You are allowing God's peace to flow through you and take precedence over everything else. This is not a small act, it is the building block upon which everything else will rest. Isn't it powerful to think that in those early moments you can choose peace over chaos, trust over fear, and faith over doubt? Praying between 3 and 5 a.m. also serves as a reminder that we are not alone in our struggles. The divine presence in these quiet hours is a reminder that no matter how difficult the journey may seem, we are always supported by a higher power. When we pray at this time, we are not just speaking words into the void. We are speaking to a God who is listening, who is actively involved in our lives. Have you ever felt that reassurance, that deep sense that no matter what is happening, you are not walking through life on your own? These early prayers are a powerful reminder of God's presence. As we continue to embrace this practice, we begin to notice how it subtly shifts our perspective. The challenges of the day no longer seem as overwhelming. The small frustrations and obstacles are met with a quiet resilience that comes from having spent time in prayer. It's as if the world's problems seem more manageable when you start the day rooted in the divine. That moment of peace, of quiet surrender, allows you to face the day with a sense of grace and strength. How many times have you faced a challenge, knowing that prayer gave you the inner strength to overcome it? In addition, this time is not just about personal growth, it's about interceding for the world around you. As you pray between 3 and 5 a.m., you're not only asking for blessings in your own life, but you're also praying for others, your loved ones, your community, your world. Can you imagine the power of a collective prayer rising up in the stillness of the night? Each of us praying for peace, healing, and guidance. The energy of those prayers can change the world. Isn't that something we all need to believe in? That our prayers matter? They can create ripples of change that extend far beyond our understanding. This practice also deepens our sense of spiritual accountability. When we commit to waking up early despite the challenges, we show God that we are serious about our relationship with Him. This is an act of discipline, a way of demonstrating that we are willing to sacrifice for the sake of deepening our connection with the divine. In a world where distractions constantly pull us away, this commitment becomes a powerful testament to our desire to grow spiritually. Have you ever felt that sense of responsibility to God, to nurture your faith? It's this commitment that strengthens your relationship with the divine. The quiet hours between 3 to 5 a.m. also allow us to live with greater intention throughout the rest of the day. When you begin the day in prayer, you approach every moment with greater purpose. Each task, each conversation, each decision feels more intentional because you have centered yourself in the divine before you face the world. That's what prayer does. It aligns your actions with a higher purpose. Isn't that what we all desire? To live with intention, with focus, and with a sense of divine direction? Praying during this time also fosters an attitude of humility. When you wake up before the world and offer your first moments to God, you acknowledge that He is the source of all that is good in your life. It is an act of surrender, a humble submission to His will. There is something profoundly humbling about rising early, taking time to pray, and surrendering your will to God. It's a reminder that no matter how much we accomplish in life, we are always in need of God's grace and guidance. Isn't it beautiful to think that prayer allows us to show up in humility before the Creator? The power of these early hours also extends to the renewal of hope. Life can sometimes feel hopeless, especially when we face personal struggles or the challenges of the world around us. But when you begin your day in prayer, you are reminded that there is always hope. There is always the possibility of change, of healing, and of renewal. Isn't that what prayer does? It restores hope in our hearts, no matter how dark the night may seem. When you pray between 3 and 5 a.m., you are inviting the light of hope into your life. The power of this time is transformative because it sets a tone of expectation of peace, of clarity, and of God's active presence. And finally, the most powerful gift of praying during these sacred hours is the transformation it brings to your heart and life. When you dedicate these hours to God, you are opening the door for a deeper, more intimate relationship with the divine. Prayer during this time is not just about asking for things. It's about aligning your heart, mind, and spirit with God's will. You allow yourself to be transformed in the quiet moments of communion in the stillness of the night. Isn't that the essence of spiritual growth? The quiet surrender, the acceptance of God's love, and the transformation that follows.